Now, have they had good draft picks? Yes. But the Patriots built this dynasty through free agency mostly. They didn't build it through the draft. One thing that people have said about New England through this whole dynasty is they have undervalued draft picks. They have not built their team around, conquering the draft. And here you have the Patriots moving up, sending Brandon Cooks to the Rams to move up to the 23rd overall pick in the draft. And people automatically wanted to jump on, they're going to take a quarterback. Well, who's going to be there? Baker Mayfield? Possibly. I don't think they're moving up to 23rd to take a quarterback. Because more than likely, Darnold, Rosen, and Josh Allen are going to be gone within the first 10 picks. Now, is there a chance that they could try to move up farther than 23rd? Yes. Because now they could take that 23rd overall pick and go to a team that's earlier in the draft that may be picking twice, or in one of those middle positions, and say, hey, we'll give you this for the 23rd overall pick and maybe a player to go with it. And how about the Rams? The offseason that they have. They now have added Brandon Cooks, Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donaldson, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib. That's a team to watch, folks. The Los Angeles Rams has made more moves this offseason than I have ever seen a team make. And they all look good on paper. Doesn't mean it's going to transcend to the field, but all of what the Los Angeles Rams have done this offseason, it really is historical. They now have Brandon Cooks. They got Marcus Peters. They got Aaron Donaldson. They got Ndamukong Suh. They got Aqib Talib. That's huge. No, sorry, I keep saying Aaron Donaldson. He was already there. They got Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, and Ndamukong Suh. Now Brandon Cooks. There's talk that they're trying to go after Odell Beckham from the Giants. I don't see that happening. But here's New England, a team that rarely does things like this, and a team that the past 10 years has built a dynasty mostly through free agency, not through the draft. They've undermined the draft. They haven't centered their team around the draft. But Bill Belichick knows he has to start preparing for the future, and that's just realistic. Yes, Brady had an MVP season, won the MVP at 40 years old. He's going to be 41 at the start of next season. He can't play forever. I said going into last year, I think at 42, 43, that's going to be it. And I really hope that Brady does not put Kraft and Belichick in the position of having to force him out. We all remember when Peyton got moved out of Indianapolis to Denver. It was a difficult situation, but the time was right. That's eventually going to come with Brady. Now, obviously, a guy at 40 years old that just won the MVP and just played in his 8th Super Bowl, and probably, if it wasn't for certain coaching decisions, would have won that Super Bowl. I've heard people say that, Belichick sent a message by not starting Butler in that Super Bowl, and that he sent a message to the team by intentionally losing that Super Bowl. He didn't intentionally lose that Super Bowl, but did he send a message to the team? Yes. And is he sending a message by sending Cooks to the Rams and moving up to the 23rd pick in the draft? Yes. But with that said, Belichick cannot make a decision like this on his own. No head coach can. No head coach can just sit there and go, we're going to trade this guy away, we're going to get this draft pick. The owner has to sign off on it. So this is something that Robert Kraft signed off on. And are they going to stay there at 23? Probably. I don't think they're going to move up. But obviously there's somebody there. You know, they're not going to move up to 23rd and send Brandon Cooks to the Rams for no reason. There's obviously somebody that they are eyeing specifically that they feel is not going to be there at 31. And they need to move up to 23 to get there. Doesn't mean that it's a quarterback. Doesn't mean it's a running back. We don't know. And we're not going to know till draft day. Now, could they possibly try to use this as ammo to move up to try to get a quarterback? Possibly. It's possible. I said when all this draft stuff started that I believe that Mason Rudolph was, next to Sam Darnold, one of the best quarterbacks in this draft. And he's one that's not really being talked about. And I still stand by this. I think he's going to end up in New England. I do think New England is going to take a quarterback in this draft. And I believe it's going to be in the second round. And it's going to be Mason Rudolph. And I stand by that. I think that's who they're going to go after, and they're going to do it in the second round. Now, why move up to 23rd overall? Like I said, more than likely, they sat there and said, look, we can move off of Brandon Cooks. We had him for one good season. You know, he did a great job. But New England has shown time and time again, players, even Hall of Famers, are disposable. That team has interchanged time after time after time after time. They do not lean, except for Tom Brady, but they do not lean on one guy. They do not sit there and say that this one guy has to stay here or the system is not going to work. They find guys that work for their system. They took Amendola, Welker, and Edelman, guys that other teams couldn't make work, didn't want. People said, you know, they're not going to be successful. They turned them into Super Bowl winning players. And Edelman is, you know, now one of the best slot receivers in the game. One of Brady's best receivers. Cooks was there simply because Edelman got hurt. Plain and simple. New England does not make that trade earlier in the year with the Saints to acquire Brandon Cooks if Edelman doesn't go down. This is New England getting value back for Cooks. They gave up a second round pick for Cooks. They now are getting the 23rd overall pick in the draft and a 4th round pick in the draft for Brandon Cooks. They got value back for him. That's what New England does. But on the other side, the Rams win again. And like I said, what the Rams have done this offseason is historical. In getting Marcus Peters, getting Ndamukong Suh, getting Aqib Talib, and now getting Brandon Cooks. You're taking a team that had its best season in a long time last year, and you've made them better. You have given them a shot to go to win that division again, to go to the playoffs again, and to this time go farther. That's going to be a very interesting team next season. But again, going back to New England, this is them getting more value back for Brandon Cooks than what they gave up. Like I said, Brandon Cooks is not in a New England jersey if Edelman doesn't get hurt at the start of the year. If he doesn't get hurt and put on the IR and done for the year, New England never makes that trade with New Orleans to acquire Brandon Cooks. It never happens. And now they've gotten value back for him more than what they had to give up to get him. And I think this is more, some people are trying to, I think, look too far into this. I think this is New England, one, getting a lot of value back for Brandon Cooks than what they had to give up to acquire him from the Saints. And two, moving up from 31 to 23rd overall in the draft, because there's a guy there somewhere in that range that they really, really like, that they feel is not going to be there at 31, and that they had to move up to 23 to get. The whole Gronk thing, what's going on with with him there? There's health questions there. Gronk has had countless injuries, countless surgeries. He's getting to a point where he has to sit there and start to think, do I need to walk away from football now? If I don't walk away now, am I going to have a life? And let's not forget that Gronk, New England has won Super Bowls without him. They've done just fine without him. And like I've said, Belichick, Kraft have shown that at New England, it's about the system and getting the right players for the system. It's a reason that team has been so successful for the past 15 years. Because they get the right players for the system, and they do not lean and favor and cling to a certain player. They can plug and go. That is something that has made them so hard to beat the past 15 years. They get the right guys for the system. They can plug and go. And yeah, the question is becoming, like I said, Brady's going to be 41 next year. I know he just won the MVP. I know he just went to another Super Bowl. He just won one 2 seasons ago. But there's going to be a point where Brady's not going to be there. And that point is going to come soon. Like I said, I don't think he's going to play past 43. I think 43 is his mark. And like I said, I hope it doesn't get to a point where Kraft and Belichick got to be like, look, you got to go. Well, we got to move on. This is it. It's time to go. But there's no reason for him to now. There's no signs. This is a guy that just won the MVP at 40. Threw for over 500 yards in the Super Bowl. There's no reason for him to hang it up right now. But there's going to get to a point in New England where they're going to go, we need a quarterback here. We got to move in another direction. And right now, all they have is Brian Hoyer as a second option. And that's why I stand by, they're going to take a quarterback in this draft, and I think it's going to be Mason Rudolph. They're not going to stretch and go and try to get a Rosen or somebody like that. If they see somebody that they like that's going to be there in the second round, and I think that person is going to be Mason Rudolph, they're going to take him. And I stand by, I believe in this draft that New England will draft a quarterback. It will be somewhere in the second, third round, and I think that person is going to be Mason Rudolph. But the Patriots sending Cooks to LA here to move up to 23rd, that's getting value back for Cooks. Like I said, Cooks was there simply because Edelman got hurt. That trade never happens with New Orleans if Edelman is healthy. Now, who is New England eyeing here at 23rd? Why did they move up there? Are they looking to possibly move up farther than that? We don't know the answers. But with what's happened the past couple of weeks, everything's pointing to there's going to be a blockbuster trade in the first round. There's going to be one. Now, I don't think they're going to trade Gronk. I don't think that Dallas is going to trade Dez. And I don't think Odell